Get ready for a spooky twist on a classic dish. This delicious spinach pie is packed with creamy ricotta, a blend of Italian cheeses, and wrapped in a buttery pie crust. It's super easy to make and perfect for the season, so stay tuned to see how it's done. To make this spooky spinach pie, you're going to need a glass 9-inch pie plate or pie dish, and you're going to need 1 box of pie crust. I'm using Aldi's brand, but of course you can use whatever brand you prefer, and you're going to place the pie crust in the dish, following the package directions. And before placing the pie crust in the dish, you want to make sure that you either spray it with cooking spray or grease it lightly with Crisco. As you can see, there's some overhang, meaning that the pie crust is a little bit bigger than the pie dish, but that's okay, that's to be expected. So I'm tucking that excess pie crust underneath to make sure that it's even all the way around. You don't want any overhang. And now I am pressing the edges of the pie crust with a fork. If you've ever used pie crust before in your life, if you've ever made a pie, you know exactly what I'm doing. This is to help secure the crust to the dish and prevent the pie crust from shrinking during baking, and it also gives the pie crust a neat decorative edge. So you want to do this all around. Your next step is to saute 1 large onion that you've chopped up in 3 tablespoons of butter. The next step is to add 2 tablespoons of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. However, I purchased salted butter by mistake, so I decided that I'm going to add only 1/4 teaspoon of salt because I'm afraid of adding too much. You know, I can always add more salt later, but of course you can adjust your seasonings however you wish. I'm just adding a little bit less salt because in my opinion, it's better to add too little than too much. If you add too much, then your dish is going to be ruined. I can always add more salt later. For this recipe, you're going to need 1 container of ricotta cheese. I always use part skim ricotta. This is equal to about 2 cups, and you're going to need 3 cracked eggs, and I'm adding these things to a mixing bowl. The next step is to add 1 bag of shredded Italian cheese blend. That's equal to about 2 cups. And you're going to add that to the ricotta and eggs that you already have in the bowl. And then you're going to stir that up really well. For this recipe, you can either use fresh spinach or you can use 2 boxes of frozen spinach. Now, I prefer fresh spinach because I like to look through my spinach and make sure that it's okay. I don't trust frozen spinach. So I used about 1.5 bags of fresh spinach, which I wilted first. And then I squeezed the excess water out and I added it to the butter and onion mixture here on the stove, as you can see, so that the spinach has some of that butter flavor. But you can also use frozen spinach if you prefer. I just prefer to use fresh. This is our cheese and egg mixture, and I'm going to add the spinach and the onion to the mixture, and I'm going to stir everything up and combine it well. We're getting closer. Now it's time to add the filling to the pie crust. Now here comes the fun part. It's time to take your cute little ghost cookie cutter, and you're going to cut out some ghost shapes out of the other pie crust. There should have been 2 in the box. This is going to be your topping. Now I was only able to use 2, but you can try to squeeze in as many as you want. I mean, only able to fit 2 on top of the pie, but if you can fit more, fine. If you want to use a different shape, fine. This is only my suggestion. And be sure to be careful with the pie crust. You know, it is delicate. I should have used flour probably when I was cutting out the shapes, but I didn't think about it until afterwards. So I was able to get 2 nice ghost shapes out of this pie crust. And now I'm placing the ghost on top of the pie, as you can see here. I'm using 2, as I've already stated before. Now I'm supposed to brush the pie crust on top with 1 egg. I don't have a brush, so I'm using my fingers instead. And now it's time to bake this in a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 minutes or until the top is golden brown. You don't want to overbake this. And please keep in mind that you may need to adjust either your oven temperature or baking time depending on your oven. And here you go. Here is the spooky spinach pie. Doesn't that look great? And wasn't that pretty simple to make? Okay, it's best to wait at least 10 minutes before you cut into it, but I would suggest waiting a little bit longer. If you cut into it too soon, you're not going to get a nice piece out of it, as I found out for myself. And also, it just tastes a little bit better when you give the flavors a little bit of time to blend. But it's still good straight out of the oven. I just recommend waiting a little bit before serving. Trust me, it's worth the wait. This is what the slice looks like when it's straight out of the oven, or almost straight out of the oven. I only waited about 10 minutes before I cut myself a piece. And it does taste great, but in just a minute I'm going to show you what it looks like if you wait a little bit. And here's my spooky spinach pie the next day. It was even better after it sat overnight. It tasted fine after I warmed a slice in the microwave. Now this is what it's supposed to look like. The slice is much neater looking and more appealing, and it tastes absolutely delicious. You know, don't get me wrong, it's good straight out of the oven, and it's good the next day. Okay guys, please let me know what you think down in the comments section. I would love to hear from you, and please let me know if you try out any of my recipes. I would be happy to know that you did. And please do consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already done so, because I do plan to upload similar content in the future. And please do check out my link in the bio. There you'll find my Amazon page, where I make a lot of great suggestions for everything from things for your home, things for your kitchen, beauty products, perfume, fashion, you name it. Thanks for watching.